It is genuinely so funny to me that Coachella started as an anti Ticketmaster concert by Pearl Jam in 1993. Fast forward 32 years, a 3-day general admission pass will cost you a whooping $649. And that is not counting the thousands of dollars spent in either air travel and land travel or both, amenities, food, water, parking spaces, outfits, and whatever other miscellaneous experience. My short content feed has been inundated with two types of Coachella experience for 2025. One comes from those wealthy influencers and rich kids that are paying upwards of $30,000 for luxury glamping facilities and the opportunity to be separated from the peasants in general admission and the closeness to artists. The second experience on my feed is that of the general admission peasants that are spending over $3,000 in order to spend their days camping on their cars, sharing dirty porty parties, communal showers, getting heat stroke because of the 100-degree weather. It is truly a dystopian experience to look at through your screen. But one thing does unite the experiences of both those crowds, and that is that being able to attend the Coachella experience is as much of a flex as being able to see your favorite artists. Don't get me wrong, I do seem like a Coachella hater, but given the chance, I would love to go and participate in that experience. It is a tailor made experience in order to forget the grind and the difficult place that we are living in our work experiences. But can this exclusive concert going experience survive the 2025 impending recessions and tariffs and overall bad vibes that are in front of us for this year? Can the power of recession pop save Coachella from the bad vibes? I think it's an easy and low hanging fruit video for me to talk about how out of touch these wealthy influencers seem by posting their Coachella trips and by sharing how much they have spent on lodging or car camping for like thousands of dollars. I think it's an easy video to make. But I also want to talk about how that experience, I think, will be unattainable for the next year. And for that, I want to zoom out a little bit, not only focus on roasting these wealthy influencers going to Coachella, either by getting sponsored to go or by shelling the thousands and thousands of dollars that you need to shell in order to experience Coachella. Yes, they are out of touch. Yes, it's frustrating to hear them rant about how uncomfortable their experience is. Camping in a desert that is basically uninhabitable for this experience that is basically utopian. I want to zoom out a little bit and try not to roast the individual so much. And I want to talk about the circumstances or surrounding Coachella, the systemic circumstances that will make 2026 Coachella seem very hard to at least have a successful and good revenue year. That's why I want to start talking about how expensive it is to host Coachella itself. It takes a lot of planning, logistics, and resources to be able to create a basically a temporary city in the middle of an inhabitable desert. Coachella needs to source $1 million contracts with companies that are able to bring like steel to support the artist stages. They need to bring engineers and engineering equipment to make sure that the audio and like the literal guts of a music festival are able to stand up the 100-degree weather of the desert. Coachella needs to put thousands of porta potties that need daily or twice daily maintenance, and they need to import like literal water from Mexico and other surrounding states of the United States in order to serve the crowds going to Coachella. Coachella needs to import so many resources into the desert in order to make this experience feasible and possible. And tariffs will make the cost of hosting Coachella skyrocket. The burden the supply chain of concerts and festivals will increase so much that prices will inevitably be passed on to the consumer, resulting in higher Coachella tickets. And the economic situation of Coachella will have to take in mind the skyrocketing of equipment and electronics that are being built and imported from Taiwan and China in order to be hosting concerts. The cost of materials are going to increase, making the prices of Coachella itself increase. And that is one of the challenges that Coachella 2026 will face. The second challenge is also related to America's bad vibes overall. Take, for example, one of the performers of this year's Coachella, Cariel and Paco Amoroso. When they're presented their widely acclaimed Tiny Desk concert, the artists wore t-shirts with their artist visas printed on their t-shirts. They wanted to show how difficult it was to get an artist's visa in order to perform at that Tiny Desk concert. They were facing a stringent immigration policy, a higher cost immigration policy. As per the AP, on April 1st, 2026, the USCIS introduced a visa fee increase, raising the cost from $460 to over $1,615 per musician application. And that is before Trump came into office. Now, with Trump's widely changing immigration policies, there is no guarantee that this fee will not go up again. And you might tell me, hey, Andrea, Coachella can simply go around this by only getting American artists instead of overseas artists. I mean, possibly, but that move will hinder the attractiveness of Coachella itself. Forget about your pop UK girlies like Charlie XCX or hip hop artists performing. Forget about the European DJ sets that are one of the staples of Coachella itself. Forget about the rich musical enrichment that Latin American music and musicians bring to Coachella. Forget about reggaeton mexa, forget about Mexican regional, forget about Latin American Indian rock, forget about reggaeton. All of those acts were prominent in this year's Coachellas and previous year's Coachellas. I mean, part of the Coachella appeal is that audience members can experience such a diverse roster of artists from all over the world in just one place over 1 or 2 weekends. The increase in tariffs and the overall bad vibes from the Trump administration foreign policy will mean that overseas artists will have to charge more for their performances at Coachella, making it so that their fees are going to increase. Another thing that is going to pass on to the consumer. This means that as of now, you will have two things that will for sure increase the cost of the Coachella passes. One, the supply chain resources, logistical part of Coachella, which make it so that the actual like logistics and the physical guts of a concert will be more expensive. But two, the artists that go to Coachella, and it's not only the performers, but their managers, their team, their disquera, how do you call it, disquera, their label, their makeup artists, their background dancers, all of those that are imported from overseas artists are going to increase. But I think that the real test will be whether or not people will have enough money to spend either recklessly or non recklessly in the midst of a catastrophic recession. And don't get me wrong, I have no doubt that a majority of the girls and the guys and the theys and the thems that went to Coachella this year went by going into credit card debt. However, even being able to afford to go into credit card debt or to afford to go into a payment plan for Coachella will become, in my opinion, a luxury that might not be available for the majority of concert goers next year. Stagflation is the combination of high inflation, a stagnant economic growth, and elevated unemployment. Right now, we can check two of the 3 points that you need in order to label the economic reality as stagflation. There has been high inflation, and there will be more inflation due to tariffs. And there is a stagnant economic growth due to like the schizophrenic handling of the economic situation. But unemployment in the US has held up. However, with the uncertainty that the market has faced due to Trump made up AI policy, the impending tariffs, economists do expect a high number of unemployment to start occurring over the next few months. And when the economic situation has a high inflation, a stagnant growth, and people are unemployed, the domino effect that we will experience of that is honestly unimaginable. According to a report by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Americans held a record $1.2 trillion dollars of debt under credit cards as of the fourth quarter of 2024, and that debt will only increase during a recession or during a stagflation. Indeed, the past few years of skyrocketing inflation, sharply raising interest rates, and monumental spikes in the cost of livings have made simply getting by for the average US household increasingly more painful. With price surges for necessity making the likes of basic groceries and fuel impossible to afford, consumers have turned to credit cards large numbers to make ends meet, thereby sending US credit card debt to all-time high in recent months. Also, the young people that do enjoy going to Coachella will be facing the end of their moratorium on student loan debt. As per KPMG, consumers took more debt to start 2025. Lower income balance sheets are especially stressed. The end of the moratorium on student loans could add further stress. With no interest rate cuts expected this year, consumers should not expect to see much relief from the rapidly compounding debt given the high rates of interest. Therefore, the majority of the people who attend concerts and festivals will be under high stress. Yes, the majority of the people going to this year's Coachella is affluent and well off people or people who have the means to be able to go into credit card debt. But the majority of those concert goers will be in so much more stress by the next year. And you might tell me, well, Coachella has survived 35 years. Surely it will survive 2025 bad vibes. Yeah, I'm sure it will. We can revisit past trends in order to see what will happen in 2026. For example, let's talk about Coachella 2008. Quote, the 2008 festival drew an attendance of 151,666 and grossed $13.8 million, but lost money due to tickets not selling and high booking fees paid for Prince and Roger Waters. So, in the midst of 2008, one of the largest economic recessions we've seen in this century, they had to pay artists like Roger Waters and Prince high fees. In 2026, we'll see a sure increase of artist fees due to the factors that I've mentioned before, because of tariffs and artists' constraints under visas. But also in 2008, the festival lost money due to not all of the concert tickets being sold. So even though it made $13 million, there was a net loss. So I have no doubt that Coachella 2026 will happen. And I have no doubt that a lot of people will go and will be able to afford it. But I do believe that the festival will suffer from sales, from high costs. I trust that the festival will be a mark indicator on class. It will be a class differentiator. It will separate those of us peasants from the wealthy individuals who will be able to attend without any economic stress on their wallets. We will see a marked differentiation between those who can go and those who are not able to go. Moreover, I expect Coachella to face a difficult year because the World Cup will be happening around the same time. 2026 World Cup, if you are not aware, is a North American World Cup, meaning it will be separated in three different countries: Canada, United States, and Mexico. A lot of people who were coming from overseas that chose to go to Coachella will inevitably choose to go to the World Cup. All of this to say is that 2026 Coachella will face a lot of scrutiny. Again, don't get me wrong. I myself would love to go to Coachella 2026. And if anyone out there wants to wants to sponsor my 80 subscriber channel in order to go, believe you me, I will betray whatever I say right now. and will go because it is something that I would want to experience. It's just simply unfeasible for me and for many other concert goers to be able to finance. Anyways, I feel this was a little bit of a rambling video. I want to know about you. Would you spend the upwards of $3,000 to sleep in your car in 100-degree weather for 2026? Or will you be staying home and watching through the live streams? Oh, which by the way, we haven't talked about the mess about the live streams cutting off. Maybe that's a video for another day. I have very little doubt that Coachella will survive 2026. They will go on to have a successful 2027 and 2028. I recently got a Semper Augustus tattoo, and that is the tulip that caused the first economic bubble. And this is just a reminder that capitalism will always be in crisis, but at the end of the day, capitalism will always come back. So, my prediction is 2026 will be a struggle for Coachella, but 2037 they will make up for their losses. Thank you for watching. My name is Frenetica, and if you like my video, please subscribe. Please remember to be excellent to one another.